Hello, everybody. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today. I'm just going to wait a few more seconds for everyone to trickle in. How are you all doing today? Let us know in the chat. Where are you joining us from today? Welcome, everybody. So nice to see you all again. My name is Maribel. I'm the academic advisor with the Enseñamos en el Valle Central initiative. And today we have a very special panel of our future, or our Fresno State mini core program, who is going to give well, I'll be giving a brief presentation about the program, but they will be available to you all for any questions that you may have. If you're interested in participating in the program and becoming a tutor, any doubts or any questions that you have about becoming a future educator, especially a bilingual teacher, they're all here for you today. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get started. Just a quick reminder, if you have any questions, please feel free to add them to the chat. We will have a portion of our presentation at the end dedicated for Q&A towards the end. Feel free to keep your cameras on or off and the mics on mute unless you are unmuting for a question, just to minimize our feedback. But yeah, welcome everybody. So with the Fresno State mini course program, one thing that I loved about inviting them to our session today is that they really support aspiring teachers, and that really aligns with our Enseñamos, mission and vision. The way they do it is through providing the opportunity for students to work as tutors in public school sites, specifically here in Fresno County. So you're actually working in a classroom with certified teachers, and with their specific population, they're working with migrant students. So you're also working with a different population that's underrepresented, that has a different language, which is something that can benefit you as a bilingual teacher. And with Fresno State mini course, they are housed in the Kremen School of Education and Human Development. So they do work on a cohort system, which includes 18 to 20 participants per semester. And they're specifically housed within the curriculum and instruction department. So as you can see, these are the program sites. They operate 24 programs out of 22 college and universities. So they are they exist throughout all of California. They have 24 coordinators. They employ approximately 450 college tutors that provide direct instructional support services throughout the whole school year. And they also employ 350 college tutors assigned to summer school sites, outdoor education, and the puppeteer program. So how was California Mini Course Program born? They were created through the auspices of Butte County of Office of Education in 1967. They were partnered with the Peace Corps program. So the Corps it's a Corps of college students with a rural migrant background who are recruited to work as teacher assistants in migrant impacted summer schools. So one thing that they really focus on with a lot of intention is producing biliterate and bicultural teachers. So as you can see their pipeline here, they work with migrant students, and with that being a great background for our college tutors in mini core, they work up to 4 years of hands-on preparation, which often leads them to be bilingual teachers and an administrator. So that pipeline really directs the migrant students to be more inspired, to be more supported, especially if they want to use their assets and their experience to become bilingual teachers. But it does provide that background for students that maybe have been migrant students in the past to become bilingual teachers. And it provides that unique setting for college students to mentor these students and prepare them to be highly qualified teachers. For the California Mini Corps, and their mission is committed to the educational success of migrant students and the development of tutors as bilingual educators, and their vision being will model providers of high quality strategic services for migrant students through effective collaboration and highly skilled professionals. So they here with Fresno State, they serve the Central Valley. So just in the 2019 to 2020 year, pre-COVID, the Fresno State Mini Corps program served 9 school districts, 32 schools, assisted 174 teachers in grades K through 12, and provided direct instructional services to over 1,100 migrant students. In addition, they do offer a 3-unit course. So the mini course students do receive extensive in-service training through a university course and educational workshops. And this emphasizes methods and techniques for assisting migrant children. So you do get some additional course credit. You also do receive professional development and university connections, so you get more professional hands-on experience as a mini core tutor through direct instruction and other models of teaching. You gain that professionalism, access to professional learning communities. You learn how to do SMART goals, lesson design, more experience in English language development. You learn how to have experience and work with assessments, classroom management, literacy, writing, and math, and standards-based learning, and also working with STEM. So the requirements for a tutor, you do have to compile a professional portfolio, work with formal lesson planning and observation. You do have to complete a reflection and analysis of that formal lesson. You do conduct home visitations. I'm sure we will learn more about how that would work under COVID, and also participating in community service. So you are very active with direct instruction to the students, but also the community that you are working in. Oh, that was quick. I hope I gave that presentation on behalf of y'all very well, but I would like to introduce our guest speakers at this time. And I just want to give a shout out to our panel today for taking the time out of their day to join us and reflect on their experiences, share their experiences, where they are today, how this program has impacted them. So thank you all so much. If you want to give them a little hand of applause on your reactions. Thank you, everybody. First, I would like to introduce Dr. Jose Lomeli. He is a professor in the Kremen School of Education and Human Development at California State University, Fresno. He was also a college coordinator for California Mini Course program in Porterville College and at California State University, Fresno. So the floor is yours, Dr. Lomeli. Thank you for being here today.
Would it be okay if we switched from sharing the screen?
Yes. Do you want to share?
That I could see some faces, whoever chooses to have their camera on.
Yes, I can take that off.
And you know, I feel like a fake when I use that old picture because I still have more dark hair, but hey, I'm hanging on, you know, what can I say? Hey, well, it's lovely to be here and, you know, have a chance to chat even in this environment. I have what, 2 hours, right? Oh, no, se crean. I'll try to be brief. I know that's hard. Those of you who took my class, you know that's hard for me, but it's especially hard because Minicore is such a part of my life. I always used to say you can leave Minicore, but you know Minicore never leaves you. And I can honestly say that it's like that. It's like a badge you take with you wherever you go. And whenever you meet someone who's in Minicore, even if you don't know them, you're like, oh, you have something that's so great to talk about in common, you know. And I think maybe some of you guys that are in the program or have been in the program know what I'm talking about. But from the first day, let me just give you just a quick little rundown of how I got involved in Minicore. My second year of junior college, I started at Modesto Junior College, and I was still working in the fields in the summer. And my friend Jose Mejia, who a lot of you guys know, Mr. Mejia, he said, "Hey, why don't you work in Minicore? You can work with kids and get out of the sun and all that." And I was like, "Man, I was tired of getting up at 5 a.m." And I said, I'll try it." And the pay was good. And I'd never seen so many Latinos in my life as when I went to that first event. It just opened my eyes, because my world was pretty small, work in the fields and go to high school. And you might be a big shot at the high school as an athlete, which I was, but the world is much bigger. And, eventually you have to move on. And when I started at JC, junior college, they placed me one summer at Empire, a migrant labor camp. And that labor camp was only like 15 miles from my house, but it felt like I was in China, man. I was like so scared to be in a little apartment. Big old guy, I'm 6'2", right? And they had me in this apartment, estaba con miedo la noche, and waking up in the morning and no sopitos from my mom. And that was part of it. I realized that a lot of the stuff that Minicore does was by design, right? Like you move away. It felt like truly like Peace Corps, because Peace Corps, that was their thing. They would send you away from home. And part of the learning was just about yourself as well. And that's what happened with me. I lived in this labor camp. I taught those migrant kids. At night, we would have meetings with the parents. During the summer, one of the parents died in the labor camp, and everybody mourned. You talk about community education, and for me, it was like, aha, this is it. I can do this. I know I couldn't do math, but I can do this, and believe it or not, I was kind of shy actually in high school. I used to mask that shyness by being good in sports, but I would avoid situations where I had to speak publicly and all that. So the first thing Minicore did is just really blew that fear away. And I had to fight a little bit, believe it or not, with my dad, because my dad would say, "¿Para qué quieres ser maestro?" He used to say, "¿Qué quieres ser profesor Girafales?" He used to call me, And he wasn't being mean, he was just being, who he was. He knew that we could make money in the fields, but he knew, but he let himself be educated, right? Because Lili, especially Lili, really turned him around. And a lot of times, when you work with migrant kids, you have to really talk to the parents, to say, "Hey, dejen a sus hijos salir," let them go and let them find themselves. So for me, that was the big aha. Now, years later, my dad, at first he used to kind of like make fun. He called me corbatudo and all of that. And later on, he'd say, "Mijo, ¿y cuánto te pagan? How much do they pay you?" He wanted to know, So like, oh, he came full circle, and he realized that this was a different world than where he came from in Mexico. And, I mean, a lot of you know me, you guys know that my path has been so tied to Minicore. I became a teacher, classroom teacher in Huron, a coordinator with the Minicore program. That position in Minicore really showed me that I wanted to go higher education, because I had an opportunity to go school administration and I was a high school coach at San Joaquin High School in two sports, and I got offered coaching positions, but I had my eye on higher ed. And so it helped me shape my path all the way through. I got hired as a professor because the dean of my school liked the work that Lili and I were doing in Minicore. And she said, "As soon as you finish your doctorate at USC, I'm going to hire you." And sure enough, I will never forget her for that, Dr. Birch. So, it also introduced me to outdoor ed, who, as many of you know, it's like the closest, in my heart, it's the biggest thing, one of the most important things in my life, is the connection that I've had through outdoor education. Because in our families, we used to try to get out of outdoor, right? We wanted to get into the air conditioning, not be outdoors, because that meant hard labor. And so for me to be able to do that was to find a way to use outdoor ed to help kids, motivate kids. Many of you know that I created a program with my compadre Augie called Interact Education. And unfortunately, COVID interfered with our 30-year anniversary as a program of running camps for over 55,000 kids. But, we will be back. 2 years ago, I wrote a book about the work that Augie and I have done. Kendall Hunt published it. It's called outstanding beyond the fields. We interviewed migrant people from all over California, and some of our own staff, from our own little family are in the book as well. And that was a really fun experience to be able to, write about some of these things that I love, and to hear people's stories. It come from them, what outdoor education meant for them. So in terms of the professionalism of the program, let me tell you, there's nothing like it. I did my doctoral work, my dissertation on the mini-core program. I compared what mini-core kids get compared to like a regular student teacher. And I found that we truly have a 5-year approach to teacher preparation compared to a 5th-year approach. And I found that our mini-core kids had over 3,000 hours of experience. When you said lesson plan, they didn't get scared like the other kids, or classroom management. I mean, it was just like an amazing pedigree. I know in Fresno Unified for years, they would have 2 piles of candidates. When they interviewed, one pile was mini-core and then everybody else was in the other pile, because they knew what those kids, what the mini-core students came in with. So anyway, I'm not gonna talk more about that, because I could talk about teaching fellows and all kinds of other things that came from this. But I do want to just give you some advice, especially for those of you who I don't know, who are perhaps thinking of getting into this program. It will and can change your life. I found early on that anybody can be a teacher, but being a great teacher takes a lot of work, and not everybody's cut out for it. And it's okay to find out that you shouldn't be a teacher, because we all have something that we're meant for. And I found out too that kids don't care. We teach children, we don't teach curriculum. Kids come in with their problems, they don't leave them at the door, and we have to be ready for anything. And kids don't care what you know until they know that you care. I found that out right away. And the other thing I think is that it really changed the way I look at what a teacher is. And I tell my students now, when they ask you what you're studying, so they don't make fun of you because you want to be a teacher and not make a lot of money, you tell them that you're studying to be a charismatic adult that's there to inspire and motivate kids. And that really changes the way people look at teaching. It's like, man, you're there more than just someone who knows, who knows things and is going to share them. And the last thing I would just say is this, that a lot of times people give up on the field, because it is a tough field to be really good at it. They've done studies and they found that it takes about 10,000 hours to get really professional at almost anything, which in teaching is about six years of teaching. So mini-core gives you that advantage of getting a head start on it. So my advice would be this: to be professional, not a perfectionist. When you're a perfectionist, you're never happy. And if you're professional, you just try to get better every day. Just try to get a little bit better, and before you know it, you really are gonna have it. You fake it till you make it, and then you fake it till you own it. And that would be my advice. So I'll stop right there.
Thank you, Dr. Lomeli. Thank you for that. I'd like to introduce our next speaker, Lili Lomeli. She's the program coordinator, site supervisor, and professional development consultant. She's an alumni of Fresno State with a Bachelor of Arts degree in Liberal Studies and a bilingual multiple subject credential. She also holds a Master of Arts degree in Educational Administration with a preliminary administrative services credential from California State University, Sacramento. And she serves as the program coordinator for CSU Fresno, California Mini-Core. Very fierce lady. The floor is yours, Lili. Thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, well, thank you for having this. I want to tell you that I'm also that guy's kid sister. And he's a reason I can listen to him forever. I never get tired of the stories, even though I've heard them and I know them, but I never get tired. And he is the reason why I am in Mini-Core. It really is. I started in Mini-Core, most of you know my story, right out of high school, not knowing really what I wanted. I thought I was going to be a business major, okay? And I remember my interview, and I blew that interview. I don't know why they hired me, because I was talking about going into business, but I knew it was a good program because that guy right there was very impatient growing up. And then he got in Mini-Core and there was a change, and I'm like, it's got to be a good program. And sure enough, and I don't regret it. I don't regret it. I was in the program throughout my college years. I went to Modesto Junior College and then Fresno State. I will tell you that as a mini corps, I actually worked in Fowler. And guess who one of my migrant students was? The interim president of Fresno State, Dr. Saul Jimenez, and his brother Alfonso, who's a teacher in that. And yeah, he was in Fowler. And every summer, for some reason, those that know me know that I like to dance. And one of the things that with mini corps in the summer, not only were you tutoring migrant students, but you were doing all this extra stuff. So I used to put performances together and art and it just all kinds of things. So I got all kinds of experiences. Throughout the program, I also did outdoor ed. There used to be a program called 4-H, where I used to teach puppetry, rocketry, dance, all these different things. And those were the experiences that I received from mini corps. But more than anything, it's that classroom experience. Okay, you can't beat that. I mean, how can you beat that? And I know Pepe, and by the way, it's Pepe, not Dr. Jose Lomeli. So if you hear me say Pepe, I can't change that. But one of the things that I think is so impacting is that you're gonna learn great things from great teachers, and you're also gonna learn great things from bad teachers because you're gonna know that that's not the kind of teacher you wanna be, right? But there's always learning taking place. And so, you can't beat that. And again, with that experience, you're going to find out if with mini corps, if teaching is your passion or teaching is not your passion. And, you'd hate to waste 4 or 5 years and then know that you do not like it. You're going to know, and usually they weed themselves out. I'm here and I'm smiling because I see a lot of former mini corps and some current mini corps here too. And I still get calls. I'm the current coordinator and I love what I do, but I love it when I get calls. And trust me, I get calls all the time. Do you have any that are finishing up? Because they want to hire the mini corps because they know the quality teacher they're going to get. Otherwise, they'd be gone. And part of my role, and I think part of my success, is when I see the success in my former mini corps, that they are in those classrooms and the pattern continues. I bring them back. Like Pepe said, once a mini corps, always a mini corps. You are always part of that family. And, and it continues. It continues. Teachers, administrators like Norma, principals, superintendents, it's a huge family and it's growing. We've been around 54 years. There is a lot, there is a huge, and we're statewide. So what an experience. And there's so many things that mini corps has to offer. We have the puppetry, we have the outdoor ed, we have the indoor and school year. And, up to about 5 years ago, it's now, we're year round. I mean, we don't even differentiate. And initially it was patterned after the Peace Corps, where we would travel and we would move. That's why Pep said he was in a camp. Now with money, you usually do stay in your home area. But look you become role models to these migrant kids, and it continues. The cycle continues and continues. And so we need passionate people that do it because it's in their heart, not because they're going to get rich, but because it's in their heart. You have to. If you want to be in teaching, you have to love what you do. And I do remember walking into my classroom and saying, this is what I love to do. I do remember consciously saying that. And it is a beautiful program. I'm so glad that I got that experience and that it continues. And I hope that we can continue the program. I know because of funding and so forth, it's a little threatening, but I hope programs like this, I don't think there's enough programs like this because this one's very specific and it is for teachers. It's not other majors, it's for teachers. So we're real specific and in the professional development of it and in giving you those experiences in the classroom. I also can talk forever about mini corps, but I want to give others that opportunity. Thank you for listening, and I love mini corps.
Thank you so much, Lili. I'd like to introduce Desiree Lianex. She was born and raised in Fresno. She's a graduate of Fresno State with a Bachelor of Arts degree in Liberal Studies and also a proud mini corps alumni, serving as a tutor for 7 years on the program. Along with being a mini core tutor, she was also a substitute teacher for Fresno Unified, a Bricks for Kids STEM instructor, and participated in outdoor education. She's currently teaching in her 4th year of teaching first grade at Delray Elementary for Sanger Unified, and will soon be pursuing a master's degree in educational administration. Thank you for being here today, Desiree.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here. I'm so glad I feel like I'm back at home because I see so many familiar faces. So I started mini core kind of just like Lili right out of high school, literally graduated. And the next day I didn't get to go to grad parties. I was on a bus to our summer institute, and it was the best decision I could have made. I enjoyed my 7 years of being in mini core, having the support that I had throughout my years was super great. I finished all my teaching, pretty much all of the credential program, even in mini core, which was a great support. But just having that, like Lili said, that classroom experience, you know, those mentors, I still can go to them today, the classroom teachers that I had as mentors, and ask them for any help that I need at any time. And it's just such a great resource to have even as a teacher right now, because sometimes we don't know all the answers. And I'll, you know, kind of like what Dr. Lomeli said, you know, that trying to be perfect is not the way to go. It's about being professional and making those mistakes. But mini core definitely taught me that I got to see teachers that are great and teachers that aren't great. But my experience was really, really wonderful. It is work. I don't want to say that it's, you know, it is work. You have to put in the work and have to love what you do. But you can build amazing friendships and amazing networking out of this program. I see tons of friends here that I have till this day. They're my best friends, and I can go to you know, Ms. Lomeli and Dr. Lomeli and all of these people for any resources that I need or any help. I love mini core as well, and I don't some advice that I would give is don't give up on the program. You know, do it all your years, because if you really are passionate about teaching, you learn so much from it, and there's so many resources out there that you can, you know, gain from it. So I'll let others speak as well.
Thank you, Desiree. Thank you so much for that raw advice. I'd like to introduce Norma Barajas Reese. She grew up in the Central Valley, is a daughter of immigrant farm worker parents. Inspired by their hard work, determination, and belief in her, she graduated from high school and enrolled in college. She's now an educator with 29 years of experience in education. And in her 29 years in Selma Unified, she served as a primary language specialist, a resource teacher, an assistant principal, a principal, director of pupil services, and is currently the director of state and federal programs. She has worked with fellow educators to create innovative programs that have included initiatives for English learners, mentoring, and parent engagement. She is a proud alumni of California Mini Core and the outdoor education component. Welcome, Norma. Thank you for being here today as well.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the invitation. It just warms my heart to hear all of the memories and the discussion around California Mini Core. I was one of those students who most of my high school teachers probably wrote off and said, you know, she's not going to graduate. In my community where I grew up, and it may be similar in that era, I truly hope it's different now, but for females, that wasn't an expectation that we were going to graduate from high school. There was that expectation that maybe we would be married, pregnant, teenage mothers. And so somehow, through the belief of my parents, because they believed in me, well, I didn't, they did. And my parents didn't know that path to college, but what they did know is that they wanted it for me. And so whatever information they could get a hold of to help get me there is what they did. And there was a professor at Fresno State, El Doctor Orozco. My parents came to a conference at Fresno State through the migrant program where I went to school. And that was pivotal for my parents. And so I graduated. I went on to Porterville College. And I think it was halfway through the year, I had a conversation with Dr. Lomeli, also known as Pepe at that time. And he explained the program to me. And for me, what it sounded like was a good job. Just as Dr. Lomeli shared, my parents worked in the fields. I worked in the fields. That summer before college, I was working with senior citizens. So I wasn't working in the fields that summer. So it sounded like a great job. And when I went to the first meeting, what it also sounded like is a familia. I was new to Porterville College, and a lot of us there were either alone or one or two in a small group. And what Minicore did is brought us all together on that campus and really helped us create the vision for where we were going to go individually and where we were going to go together. So much so that when Dr. Lomeli came over to Fresno, we all followed him over to Fresno State. To this day, others have mentioned, to this day, I still have friendships and I'm in constant communication with people that I was in the program with all the way back to Porterville College. As an educator, the experience that you will gain is absolutely recognized, and it is invaluable, and it makes such a difference for the students that you will go on to serve. I saw the list of the professional development. I mean, there are districts that are lucky if they can get that professional development to their teachers. And here you are as California Minicore students getting that professional development even before you're a classroom teacher. Every year of teaching solidifies your ability as a teacher. So in Minicore, you start doing that even before you have your credential. And so that just all compounds. And so when you walk into the classroom as administrators, we know we're getting high quality, high caliber, experienced teachers in our classroom. So when Lisa says that she gets phone calls, I'm one of those. Do you have somebody who's done? Because we're looking for someone. And I have to speak to outdoor ed because I did outdoor ed. I think it was a total of 8 summers. That same group of kids, because that's what we were at that time, kids, we were brought up with that work ethic. Se trabajaba duro, se hacía el trabajo. That was who we were. When we brought that to outdoor ed, wow. I got chills right now just thinking about those kids, all of us being responsible for hundreds of kids at outdoor ed camps, and not only doing it good, but doing it really good, being responsible, learning the leadership skills from those that came before us. Outdoor ed was transformational for me. In terms of leadership, that's where the leadership that was within all of us blossomed. I can't speak enough, and I don't know if the program still exists anymore, but you talk about taking kids out into the world in those days, and I'm assuming money-wise, right, Lily and Jose, that there was more money in the program before, but my first plane ride was through Minicore. They flew our student reps from across the state to our meetings in Sacramento. That was my first plane ride. And for my family, I remember my parents driving me to the airport, which was crazy because I couldn't go out. My parents didn't let me go out, but I could get on a plane and go to Sacramento. So that was a little crazy, but I remember my father just being so proud of that moment, something that he couldn't provide for me, but something that he knew I was going to gain from. And that letting go, all of our parents had to do it as we were in Minicore. They had to let go of us to some degree, but the program did right by them, did right by us. And so yes, Minicore is in my heart too. Every year I scramble to make sure we get Minicore students in our district because we want them here. You do serve as role models to our students. They see themselves in each of you. And so you help us keep our students motivated and working towards their own futures. So please know that every day that you set foot in one of our classrooms, our kids are benefiting from it. Our communities are benefiting from it. So thank you.
Thank you, Norma. Thank you for sharing that, especially because a lot of it is very resonating. So we appreciate you Thank you.
Thank you.
And last but not least, we have Francisca Vega, who grew up in the Central Valley and is a proud daughter of immigrants. She is a DACA student and a first-generation college graduate. She is a proud Mini Corps alumni for 4 years in the Visalia campus and was a part of outdoor puppetry and tutoring while she was in the program. She is a first-year teacher and is teaching 4th grade in Visalia, and she was also in the first graduating class for the Fresno State ITEP program in Visalia. So congrats, welcome to, and thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much, and thank you all of you for being here today and for having me. What a year to start teaching, and Mini Corps prepared me for this year, because otherwise I would have been like, I mean, it's been so hard this year, and I was in Mini Corps for 4 years, and just being in Mini Corps prepared me for what was going to happen this year with COVID. Even with the making connections, I mean, I can start there. Making connections is a really big thing that Mini Corps taught me, and, you know, meeting the kids through Zoom, and, you know, making sure that from the get-go I made that connection, and it's been life-changing. And the kids that I have now, they see someone like themselves when they saw me through the screen. A lot of them, I know they're like, oh, like, she's my teacher. And I would talk to them in Spanish, you know, with our cultura mexicana, because I teach a lot of migrant students, and they hear me talk in Spanish and they're like, oh, Maestra sabe español? And I'm like, yes. And, you know, they see themselves. And I think once they start seeing themselves, they really want to go to school, and they really think that they can also be professionals as they get older, and they start envisioning themselves, you know, in your shoes, because a lot of the times growing up, we don't see teachers that look like us. And so maybe we think that these jobs aren't built for us. And I think, you know, when I started Mini Corps, I think I was about maybe 3 or 2 years in college already, and I went to a community college. And una amiga, kind of like how it happened to Dr. Lomeli, introduced me to the program. She was like, hey, this summer, I'm going to go to Sacramento. We're all going to get on a bus. You should join it. You should join Mini Corps. And I'm like, what? She was like, yeah. I'm like, I don't know if I can do it. She's like, you should try. So then I went and talked to the coordinator, which my coordinator's here, Rosalba Marquez. She's in the crowd. She's like a second mom to me. She checks up on me even now. I mean, look at her, she's in here. I told her about this, and she made it. And that's how you know, the connections that Mini Corps makes. And so I applied, and before Mini Corps, being a first generation college student, I didn't have the support that I needed. My mom had no clue where to go when I needed help. My dad didn't. I had an older sister, but she didn't continue school. And I feel like Rosalba was there to guide me. And if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have known that at that moment, there were programs that would help me as the DACA student go to school full time, and that my tuition would be paid. So I was taking about 2 classes a semester, thinking I had to pay out of pocket every semester. And so then Rosalba was like, no, mija, there's this thing called the BOG waiver. If you go to school full time, they'll pay for your school. And I was like, what? And so then after that happened was when I started getting full-time classes, because in order to be in the program, you have to be a full-time student. And I had no clue. And the colleges at the time never let me know that. And at the time when I was going to school, there wasn't programs for Dreamers. There wasn't programs for DACA. And I feel like Mini Corps had my back. They were like, no, there's these programs, go here, go get the help. And had it not been for that, I don't even know if I'd be here right now. I'd probably still be taking the 2 classes a semester. And after that, even though I didn't get financial assistance, I started taking the classes full time. And they were paid for. And that summer I started just like Desiree, got on that bus, and I stayed in the dorms for the first time. And I'm like, ay, ¿qué es eso? We're so used to being a local and not going anywhere. And I remember riding that bus and meeting a lot of people that looked like me that also wanted to be teachers. And I was sold after that. I stayed in it for 4 years. I did puppetry. I did, because of Jose, because I was in a panel with Jose, and he sold outdoor to me. I'm like, I got to go to wherever he went. So then I joined outdoor, and I use some of those things I learned in outdoor now in my classroom. So there's this thing where you, as soon as you're joined, it's like a gang, but it's not a gang, okay? You're initiated with the nature name. And so everybody has their nature name in outdoor, and I'm Miss Luna. And so I took it to my class, and all the kids in my classroom have a nature name. So when they log into Zoom, they'll put their name / their nature name, and they love it when I call them by it. I mean, it's like we feel like a family. And I think that's what Minicore does more than anything. And Norma and Lili are right on the dot when they say that professionals look for Minicore. As soon as I got hired and I met my principal was in Minicore. His name's Adrian Leal. And I mean, they know we come prepared. We're everywhere. And, you know, like Jose said, once a Minicore, always in Minicore. And so I'm so thankful for Minicore and the opportunities that it's opened for me and for my family, because now I'm a first-year graduate. And I know my parents are proud of me, and I'm going to keep going. And Minicore really made that a possibility for me. Yeah, that was my experience.
Thank you, Francisca. Thank you, everybody, you know, for being here, for sharing your story, for, you know, helping out the raza, you know, like we all look for something, you know, to either remind us, to help us, to guide us, for inspiration, for anything, you know, to like remind us that we do belong here, that this is what we want to do. So thank you for taking the time to get to know our students, to you know, talk about yourselves today. And for our students that are here today, I would like to open it up for questions. Please feel free to add them to the chat or to unmute. I will start off with one question that's already in the chat. So from Yasmin, is this program only for undergraduates?
Yes, it is. It is for undergraduates. However, our students get grandfathered in. So you have to get hired as an undergraduate, but initially. But the reason why I have some that are already in student teaching is because if they were in the program before that, then they can continue and do their credential program with Minicore. So in essence, you cannot get hired after you graduate. You do have to get hired as an undergraduate, but stay on. So you're grandfathered in.
Good to know. Thank you. From Jacqueline, what does a day on the job as a tutor look like?
I can answer that one. So it can vary. I don't want to say like it's not consistent, but I remember myself, I had sometimes, you know, migrant students are in all, you know, we want to get numbers, you know, that's our goal. We want to reach as many kids as we can, migrant students. And sometimes migrant students weren't all in the same class. So there is sometimes where, you know, you had to travel from class to class, you know, from grade to grade, which is such an awesome experience because of the fact that you get to kind of see those other teachers in different grades, kind of get that experience in those different grades to kind of see what's your interest? Do you like the littles? Do you like, you know, the bigger kids, you know, so that a day as a tutor, you know, you get to experience that. I remember I was sometimes traveling to, you know, 4 different classes in my time. And it was such a wonderful experience. And also, you know, having as a tutor, you have those opportunities even to do after school. But I know that Ms. Lomeli really did work with my schedule of schooling. You know, she always said school comes first. And that's the beauty of Minicore, that no matter what, your schooling comes first and Minicore does come second, but it does support you in that. So, but that's kind of a day in tutor, you know, you are, oh man, my Zoom went away. Sorry. Okay, you guys are back. You're as a day, you are, you know, you're there to support. You're there to support the student as much as you can. It depends on how many students you are servicing to give them to that allotted time. But maybe, I don't know if somebody else wants to pick up on that.
I do. I want to add something. One thing that is emphasized is that we don't make copies for teachers. We're there. My favorite thing is that we're there 100% for the teacher and the students. So we're not like my favorite thing. We're not like other programs where the teacher can send us to like, go get something from the office or go make copies or go do this for this. The teachers we're there for the teachers, we're there for the students. And I'm lucky enough where I've worked with teachers that have let me do like full-on lessons, and they give me feedback and I can grow from that. And that is one of my favorite things because like Desiree said, you work in different classrooms. So one year I worked with first grade and then I ended my day with fifth grade. So I would be working with the little ones and I'd be like excited and working at their level. And then at the end of the day, I would go with fifth grade, and it's a different relationship that I was able to bring with the fifth graders. So yeah, that's what I wanted to add.
Also, I'll add to that, depending on what classroom you're in the grade level, I know for me, I had a lot of opportunities where I got to work in small groups. So I got to work with the students, and sometimes the teacher would say, you know, I want you to specifically work with this. They need help in this assignment. Or I remember when I was one of the classrooms in Fresno, I had a student who was really struggling with writing. And so we made it a thing to every day, we were always working on his writing, sentence structures, and getting to, you know, get him to be a better writer. And it's so awesome when you get that teacher that tells you, hey, this student, his writing, there's just been a huge improvement. I remember hearing that, and it's awesome because you get that opportunity to really work with your students one-on-one. And like I said, you can do small groups just depending on what the teacher is recommending or what the students need. Sometimes it's reading. So it just kind of depends on your students' needs. And it's awesome because you're right there and they're supporting them specifically on their needs, because our migrant students, you know, they migrate. And so sometimes they'll miss out on school, they'll come back, they'll be in and out of the school. And so they miss out a lot on the educational time. And it's really awesome that you are there to provide that one-on-one support that sometimes, you know, the classroom's teachers don't have the luxury of doing it because they have a class of 30 students. They can't take, you know, that time to just work with that student specifically because they have 29 other students that they have to worry about. So as a mini course student, you really do give them that specialized one-on-one support, and these kids just absolutely love it and they really thrive off of it.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. Another question, is MiniCore available in the Visalia campus?
Yes, we do. We have the coordinator from Visalia here. Rosalba, you want to?
We do. We welcome all of you interested in joining our COS program. As a matter of fact, Francisca was sharing that she stayed with me for 4 years at COS, and that is because when she transferred to Fresno State, we have the Fresno State cohort program across campus with the Fresno State campus. So they continue in our program as they join the cohort, the ITEP program in the South Valley. And that program is designed specifically for tutors like Francisca that are in the south part of the valley that can't commute because the traffic is horrible. So it would take them sometimes up to 2 hours to get to Fresno when they were commuting. So it's just a lot of that time that they're driving is now spent across campus. So yes, anybody interested, I'll go ahead and share my email so you can contact me directly. Thank you.
We are a statewide program, so we have programs as far as the Calexico area all the way to Shasta, Eureka and all that, so in Chico. So we are in the coast, so we have programs throughout California.
I wanted to add real fast also before I forget that MiniCore also supports teachers in preparing for the CBEST. So once I graduated and transferred COS, I had my CBEST done. And so a lot of the students that were also finishing their bachelor's didn't have that yet. And so, you know, you have this checklist and you're already finished, and all these students are like, how did you already finish it? And I'm like, MiniCore, they keep you in check. They're like, yeah, les hiciste every day, you know. So they're so helpful. They have workshops for us to help us prepare for that. So, you know, MiniCore's an all around awesome program.
Well, we partner with Feather River College, so the students can get units and they get their exams paid for. Okay, so there's funds for CSET, for single subject. Obviously, Fresno State waives it if you're liberal studies, or and CSET CBES and RICA. And there's grants also.
That is awesome. Yeah, because the CBIS right now is a struggle, but once you're done with it, like you're done forever. So that's really good to know. Thank you for sharing that. One more question from the chat. If hired, will the tutoring be done virtually?
Right now, yes. You know, obviously it's been a challenging year, but our mini core are so resilient. I'm always amazed at the quality of instruction that they've been able to provide. So yeah, everything is virtual, although the schools are going back, and once our tutors are vaccinated, we are letting them back in the classroom. We're working with the schools, but yeah, we're following the COVID restrictions or whatever it is. So, you know, it's been virtual. Earlier, you guys had asked about the outdoor ed and the puppetry. It's been canceled the last 2 summers, but hopefully when all this, it should come back. So yeah, all the instruction tutoring right now is virtual.
Thank you. Any
If I
more
could-
questions? Oh yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Sorry, if I could just share regarding distance learning. Great mini course story. We have a teacher who had to be on leave for personal reasons. And so we had a substitute teacher take the classroom. And I was there with him the first day and we were lost, but our mini core tutors were there and it was just phenomenal. As soon as, you know, they saw how lost we were, they said, okay, we know exactly what we need to do. Breakout rooms, the PowerPoints, everything. And I think those are those opportunities that you get in mini core that just kind of push you into those events that just push you to those limits. And so I just have to share it. Even in distance learning, our mini core students, they know what's going on everywhere.
Thank you. Any more questions, comments from our students today? Please feel free to unmute or type it in the chat.
I'd like to add something. Just for those students who are wanting to go into teaching, this is like they've mentioned it, mini core is just one of those programs that you can't replicate. It is just a program in its own, and it truly prepares you for teaching. I mean, going into the classroom as a teacher, you already have so many hours of experience. And like Lili said, you know, you'll get to know the kind of teacher you want to be, because you are going to sometimes find yourself in those situations with teachers that aren't the best, but you're also going to be in those situations with teachers that you're going to learn so much from them. And this program truly prepares you. I remember going into the credential program and some of my peers had never done lesson plans. They had never, like, they didn't even know the different parts. They didn't know anything about the SMART goal. I mean, they were doing the credential program, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it was just, you know, as a mini course student, I felt so much more prepared when I had to, you know, when they were saying, all right, they're going to observe you this many times, you're going to have formal lesson plans, observations. I was already used to it because as a mini course student, you do have to have one formal observation per year. And so I was used to it because throughout my years, Mr. Mejia, you know, we would have our formal lessons, we would go over it. And so this program truly prepares you in the best way for teaching. And you just learn so much from it and you gain so much from it, as well as I've also gained some amazing friendships that are still, you know, in the future, they're going to be my comadres. But this is such an amazing program that really does, you know, as a student, I'm the first of my family to graduate. I remember also being like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I have no idea. And mini core, I remember in high school, we actually had our senior day and we had to have an interview and they're like, what do you want to do? And I remember the people telling me, I told them that I wanted to be a teacher. And one of the interviewers actually came to me after the interview and said, hey, if you're interested in teaching, you should get into this program. And so I was like, okay. And, you know, being a high school senior, I kind of brushed it off. And then as I was getting into college, I was like, oh, you know, I don't know what I want to do. Like, what should I do? And my dad actually, his friend is cuñado de Raúl Moreno from Fresno State. He's, you know, he's a professor as well as part of, you know, he's very heavily involved with Fresno State. And so he actually somehow managed to get me to his house and was like, hey, you need to sit down with him so he can, you know, give you some advice. And like he drove bus all the way to Fresno to his home to be like, what do you got to do? And he recommended once again Mini-Core. And so it was the best decision of my college career, of my college life, of my professional career as well, because I can honestly say that it prepared me so much more to teaching. I currently teach newcomers in Planadas at a middle school. These are my students. These are my kids who are, I have students from Yemen, students from Mexico who are still learning English. A lot of my students are migrant students. This is my population. These are my kids. And Mini-Core was the perfect program that prepared me for that prepared me to work with this kind of students. And it really is an amazing program. And you don't lose anything trying it out. Like Lili said, you might realize, hey, I totally love this. I want to continue to do this. That's awesome. You might realize this is not for me, and that's okay, because we want teachers who love this profession, because it is a very selfless profession where a lot of the times you don't get the credit that you might feel like you deserve or that you're wanting, but that's what teaching is. And I definitely recommend you reach out to the coordinators if you're interested. And like I said, you don't lose anything. If anything, you're going to gain so much from it. And honestly, like I said, it was the best decision I could have ever made in my life. And so I really, really love it. And Lili, it's so good seeing you. And Dr. Lomeli, it's so good seeing you guys. It's been a while. Yes, just wanted to add that.
If I can add something, please. You guys already mentioned everything that I wanted to say, but one thing that I did want to point out is that, yes, you learn a lot of good things to become a great teacher, but you also meet a special person who's there to back you up on everything you need to do. And during the credential program, you will have different supervisors and different teachers that will be giving you really good advice or sometimes not that great advice. But you will always have a Mini-Core supervisor that will have your back no matter what, and will give you good decisions for you, for yourself, and not for anyone else, but what your needs are. They will try to help you fulfill them. And I think that's very important, because sometimes when we have our supervisors in the credential program, like they're working with 30 other students that they just met, but our supervisor knows us from the very beginning. And I can tell you, there were a lot of cases where teachers were asking for this, or I was getting job interviews and job offers, and I went to Miss Lomeli, and because she knew me so well and she knew what I wanted and she knew how I was, she gave me the best advice ever. And so did Dr. Lomeli. Like, I'm so grateful to them. And I know Mr. Mejia was also there for us. And it's just nice to have someone who will be with you as you grow, and they get to see how much you've matured and how much you've learned, and they will have your back no matter what. They will not have the back of the principal or the other things. They will have your back, which is what we also need. So I really do hope you guys join. Sorry.
No, you're good. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I do have one question. So for students that are interested in joining, who would they contact, or how can they join?
They can contact me, I think directly, and then I can send them an application. There's a link there too, in case it's another college or a community college, but they would contact me directly. Right now, I haven't been at the office, it's all virtual. So I'll put my contact information. Oh, there it is. Email me right here. Maribel put it on there. So just email me and I'll guide you or connect you with, if it's a community college and so forth, but we'd love to have you. I will say this, it's sometimes Mini-Core is a secret. And I say that because a lot of times we do have a waiting list, okay? Like this year, I couldn't hire any new students, none. I was actually over the limit. In the beginning, they were telling me, you're gonna have, just because we have a certain amount of numbers. And I said, there's no way I'm letting go of anyone. There's no way. I'm not gonna do that. Don't put me in that situation. And that's because we had lost Jose as he retired. And I said, I'm not gonna do that. So I wasn't able to hire, but I know people are getting hired this summer. So I may have I may have some openings. So again, that won't start till like July or so forth, but contact me. If you're interested in the program, contact me. I will guide you and let you know what it is that you need, or connect you with a correct person if you're going to go to Visalia or Merced or another one of our programs.
Thank you so much, Lili.